A power play in City Hall over the NYPD gets New York's attention, while new questions surface about high-tech political tricks. Today on The Debrief, New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams talks Mayor Adams and what comes next, and the I-Team with an election year warning. Good morning, I'm David Ushery. We begin with the showdown at City Hall. This week, the New York City Council voted to override Mayor Adams' veto of a controversial bill that requires NYPD officers to document nearly every interaction with the public. The council says it's necessary for street-level transparency and to monitor tactics like stop, question, and frisk. But Mayor Adams and police unions oppose the How Many Stops Act, arguing it ties up cops when they should be fighting crime.
In police sense, seconds is the difference between life and death. We can have public safety and justice. They can coexist.
The resistance to this legislation is disturbing. The resistance to truth-telling of data, of who is being stopped in the city of New York, is disturbing to me. It should be disturbing to everybody.
City Council Speaker Adrian Adams led the effort to override the mayor's veto. Just after that vote, the New York Times saying the speaker, quote, who shares many of the mayor's moderate stances, has become one of his most powerful and vocal critics, unifying the most diverse city council ever and empowering it as a forceful wedge against him. Joining me now, Speaker Adams. Madam Speaker, what say you?
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you, Dave.
Thank you. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
But interestingly enough, though, the history of the tension between this city council and this mayor has been there, going back a year, going back on many issues. But it did seem like to many New Yorkers this was a turning point this week. I mean, you got even more votes to pass the override than you did on the original legislation. I think New Yorkers are wondering, well, moving forward, is the city council and Speaker Adams a wedge as we confront many issues, still recovering from the pandemic, the migrant crisis, homelessness? What happens now moving forward?
We're going to continue our partnership with the mayor, with the administration. I don't look at this difference of opinion as being a wedge per se. I look at this as being something that we as leaders go through. We go through understandings, misunderstandings, misperceptions all the time. But this is what brings us closer to doing the right thing by New Yorkers. Yes, we still need to have discussions. Yes, the City Council is looking forward to working with the administration on the implementation of this much-needed legislation, a legislation package overall. And we're going to continue to partner with the administration. I don't consider this to be a wedge, quote unquote. I consider this to be work for the people of the city of New York.
Speaker Adams, you and those who supported the legislation said, look, this is to help better protect New Yorkers of color, young black men who've often had encounters with police, and sometimes they end very horribly. That being said, other constituencies in the city that are important to the city's recovery, the real estate community, the business community and their employees, they have some concern about what appears to be a progressive bent, they say, at a critical time, especially when it comes to public safety. What do you say to them and what they can expect moving forward?
Well, once again, we are all coming out of a historic global pandemic. We can start there. The City Council, the mayoral administration, we all came in wearing masks and trying to get this city out from under this pandemic. We have been successful in doing that overall. What we can look forward to is continued success. Once again, for the people that we are committed to serve, for the people that elected us to serve them, we're going to continue to do just that in every single corner of the city.
But New Yorkers who feel like they're not safe, who see crime, they hear the headlines, for the business owners and business community who say there's so much regulation, so many obstacles put in our way, should they draw any conclusions from what happened this week on this piece of legislation and how the council responded?
Well, the City Council looks forward to protecting New Yorkers, not doing anything opposite. This legislation, just like any other piece of legislation that the council passes, we pass these pieces of legislation in an effort to protect New Yorkers. Overall, we believe that the How Many Stops Act will do just that in gathering pertinent data on investigative stops only, not every single stop, investigative stops, not casual stops. This is work that police officers are already doing, by the way. They're already capturing information on level 1 stops on their body-worn cameras. So to come back and try to explain a lot of the information that's been presented out there just has not been accurate. We're just looking for a few data points on a smartphone.
You more or less said you were disappointed with how the administration was handling this in the public arena?
Yes, quite frankly, there was information that, in our perspective, went out there to seek to confuse and to just create a whole lot of fear, and it was successful, actually. People are actually afraid now, given the talking points that were presented out there, handcuffing police. That's absurd. That would never be at the objective of the City Council, just the opposite. We want to partner more with our NYPD partners, the greatest police department on the planet.
Madam Speaker, let me ask you about another issue that you were vocal on. That's the migrant crisis. You're upset about the policy when it comes to shelters, the 60-day, 30-day policy. What do you think the Mayor Adams administration has gotten wrong from day one in handling this?
Planning, but who could plan for it? This was something that was put on the administration without any warning. There really isn't too much for me to say as far as the policies, federal policies that created this firestorm. But we're here now. And the fact that we all have been put in place to take care of thousands upon thousands of asylum seekers, of migrants who have come here for their own protection. We just did not and still do not have the infrastructure to do that all. We need the federal government to help us.
Mayor Adams has said he agrees with you on that, but he has said, look, even empathetic New Yorkers who are taxpayers can only be expected to do so much. And criticizing the policy is one thing, coming up with real solutions is another. Does he have a point?
In a sense that is correct. But now that we are here, we are in the midst of things. The council does not want to see anyone hurt. And no one wants to see anyone harmed by policies that may prevent individuals from staying within shelters, particularly families, children. We know that the 30-60-day policy will now put children out of schools potentially that they have been put into for educational purposes, for their safety. And we're now seeing children in tears because they have to leave those schools and leave those relationships that they are beginning to build.
What's next on the council agenda? What can New Yorkers, our viewers, now expect with the council? What will you tackle? More budget issues, and how will that look so far?
We, of course, have the budget always that we are tackling this time of year. The City Council will always continue to fight for programming that the least of these New Yorkers need. We are the most diverse council in the history of the city of New York, and we understand the plight of our constituents. We're going to continue to fight for education. We'll continue to fight for our libraries, our social programs, and a whole lot more. We're looking forward to our negotiation with the mayor, with the administration. We come in with...
Are you looking forward to it?
I am.
Are you looking forward to it? I mean, I know publicly, and you tried to take down the temperature at the state of the city, but privately, it does seem like there's a lot of difference in opinion and governing approach.
It's interesting that you say privately, because I think it's just the opposite. I think in the public realm, it looks like there is a whole lot of discontent and a whole lot of chaos. Privately, though, the mayor and I have a very good relationship. I continue to say that. We speak very, very often. I can pick up the phone now. He'll pick it up. I can text now and vice versa. We do have a good relationship. I look forward to continuing that relationship in our negotiations.
Okay. Currently Speaker. Do you want to make any news about future political plans? Why not? Why not ask? You've emerged very much in the public eye. A different Mayor Adams, perhaps? You want to... Maybe a candidacy?
At this time, the only thing that I will be running for will be the bus.
Okay. City Council Speaker Adams, so good to have you here. Please come back.
I certainly
as the
will.
city confronts many of these issues and you help lead through it.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up next, the News 4 I-Team takes a closer look at how artificial intelligence is being used to influence your vote and how some are fighting back. Welcome back. On the campaign trail, the New Hampshire primary may be remembered not just for Donald Trump's big win, but for the way voice cloning was used as a weapon to try and manipulate voter turnout. This week, the I-Team's Chris Glorioso took a deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence and how deepfakes are creeping into politics, whether we're ready or not.
Voting this Tuesday on only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect.
When a deep-fake robocall tried to trick New Hampshire voters into believing this was President Biden,
What a bunch of malarkey.
the sham was quickly uncovered, but we still don't know who was behind the dirty trick. A deep-fake detection company called Pindrop said it's 99% sure someone used artificial intelligence platform 11 Labs to clone the president's voice. And if 11 Labs sounds familiar, that's because Mayor Adams used the same company to clone his voice.
Hola, soy el alcalde Eric Adams.
And Chris joins me now. That aired this past week. We wanted to bring you in, Chris, and get some other takeaways and thoughts. This seems to be very early in the primary, in the general election process, and yet here we are. It seems really concerning.
Well, David, one of the reasons we decided to take a look at this was because these two examples, they're really two sides of a very complex coin. On the one hand, somebody's trying to use this, the mayor, for a really good purpose, to try and speak to people in their own language. On the other hand, you have somebody who is a nefarious character out there who's using this to try to impact an election. But both of these examples are being criticized. In the case of the mayor, there are those who say he hasn't been transparent because he didn't label this in the audio file as AI generated. City Hall says he was very transparent. He told journalists he was doing this. But the bottom line is that this is such a new and complex technology, and it's already here. I think a lot of people are confused about how we go about regulating it and what guardrails there should be.
In those who have nefarious intentions, they're not worried about disclosure. So where are we with the law trying to catch up to those behind this?
Yeah, I think that is something that regulators, lawmakers, and frankly, lawyers are trying to figure out right now. In the case where people are nefariously using a platform, can you hold that platform accountable? 11 Labs, the company that was linked to that Biden robocall by researchers, they didn't respond to the I-Team's request for comment, but certainly investigators are going to want to find out what platforms knew what before they move on. There is this push, especially among some of the data ethicists, the people who are trying to be watchdogs on AI, to say a baseline is that we simply have to make sure that everything is embedded with a warning, some sort of disclosure, so that we all know that machine learning played a role, whether it be in the political sphere, where there's a message trying to persuade our vote,
right,
or whether it be in the government sphere, where there could be public service messages like the one the mayor was trying to put out there to try and help us with our daily life.
All right. Well, it was an eye-opening report and one we should all pay attention to because it could spill over into a lot of other areas of our lives. All right. Chris Glorioso, the I-Team, thank you. That's all the time we have for today. Coming up next, NBC's Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. Have a good day.